we'd like to thank everyone for joining us tonight. We know everyone's busy and it's at the end of the day and everyone's tired, so we will try to jump right into this. We're excited about this category. It's a category that we've had for some time, but we're just trying to get it off the ground. And I think once you guys get to see what they have to offer, that you will be able to use this to add a whole new revenue stream to your stores. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce Ryan Roberts. Thank you guys very much for coming tonight.
Hey, thank you, and thank you, Robert, for the introduction. I'm Ryan Roberts. I'm a salesperson here at Liquid Lumens, and this is Colin Curtis. He's our engineer. Just kind of want to dive into some of our products. If at any point, during us talking about some of our products, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to chime in. I'm definitely open for questions. Always helpful on that aspect. Yeah, I just want to kind of dive into some of the products that we have. Kind of some of the things that I see, as a salesperson on my end. A lot of people tend to, call in with questions of, for instance, the big question is, when it comes to the lighting side of things, people call and be like, what light is best for me? And I kind of want to break it down into maybe a couple of different categories for those three different models that we have. For instance, I kind of go with what is the end goal for the customer. We have all different people in the boating industry. We have people that like to spend time with family. We have people that like to, get the top JL audio system or the top wet sound system, and want to be noticed on the water. It's just a big, there's a broad spectrum of people out there that in the boating world, and so that's kind of the question that I ask a customer, and to kind of branch into these products. We'll start with the skinny dip. The skinny dip is our entry level product. It's about half the size of the pipeline, which is our next product. But this is our entry level. Our entry level product, the skinny dip. It's a 12-volt through and through model. So
Hey, I'm
anything.
in a meeting right now. Hold on.
Um, So it's kind of like our entry level. What this is it's the person that. So this is this is our entry level model. What I would describe this as to a customer is somebody that their goal and intention is to just kind of relax and have fun. Maybe with some kids on the water or at a lower light level time on just kind of hanging around the boat. This would be perfect for for those type of opportunities where you're not necessarily on plane and more so, just kind of enjoying, enjoying the aesthetics of your surroundings. This is good for that because it's got the 12-volt through and through, but it's also does it's 35 watts per housing. So I mean, it still packs a punch. I actually have a friend of mine that went with the skinny dips that kind of likes to spend a little bit more leisure time, um, you know, like with his family and whatnot. And he went down to Lake Powell and actually went cliff jumping in the middle of the night with his skinny dips. And he said they work great on lighting up the water to know where to jump. I wouldn't recommend that for everybody, but that's kind of what the skinny dip light is. With that 35 watts per housing, it's got about 2,000 lumens per housing. It runs 2.4 amps at 14.5 volts with the engine running. Um, it still has an aggressive beam angle. It has a 45-degree beam angle, so still protrudes quite a bit of light for what it is. The huge benefit of this is since it runs just RGB leads, it can go straight to the RGB controller on board, or so if there is if there already is RGB lighting, it can tie into that system or tie into that zone, or it can be utilized with our sync box. And the sync box, I'll kind of go a little bit more in a little bit more in depth later, but this is a great introductory to someone that is kind of getting into the underwater light phase. So that'd be kind of what is best for the skinny dip. Moving up to kind
Now
of
on
our
that skinny dip, is
yeah.
that how on that lens? Is that lens like how thick is that lens? And if it let's just say somebody bumped it on something and it busted, it cracked it or something. Is that lens replaceable or is that something that's non-replaceable? Just curious.
It's replaceable, but You'd have to hit it pretty hard to damage it. It's very
Okay.
tough.
It's
It's
pretty thick, pretty stuffy.
very
Okay, awesome. Great, thank you.
Yeah, with it, it's a boroscopic lens.
borosilicate.
Borosilic, sorry. I always pronounce it wrong. But what it does, it actually amplifies the LED board. If I were to take this off and say put it on a piece of paper here, it would actually be the magnifying glass. Kind of a lot of what our competitors have is more of a flat lens or a diffused lens. This actually helps that top triangle of that beam eagle be aggressive coming straight out of the boat, and actually as it goes further out, the brightness levels out with the distance that it pushes out, and you'll see that. And I can light it up for you here. Choose the one here. So right now, this little jumper box that we have here, it's just let's see what okay. So kind of hard to see, but I mean enough to get you blinded if you look directly into it. Red is going to be like the most aggressive of the RGB component. It will do the color spectrum white. It won't do the solid white, but it'll do like the white you're kind of used to maybe in Christmas lights, LED Christmas lights, where you can see the rainbow color. You can see on my shirt
in air the LED rays are not diffused, but as soon as you put it in water, it all blends together into a white. But you got all red, green, blue rays coming through the lens.
And so that was our skinny dip light. So that entry level light. We sell them in singles or pairs, depending on what the customer wants. We've had customers that have put 3 skinny dips on a boat, and we've had some customers and a dealer put on 8 pipelines on a boat. So the sky's kind of the limit on what you want to, what the customer would like to see when the lighting aspect. But as a pair, they run for $1,030, and that's with it'll come with about a 3 to 5 foot pigtail coming out of the light. And
we have a question.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, is a single skinny dip enough for a boat, or should you look at multiples?
Typically, we go in pairs, but we sell them like light, so I think a single light could be enough for.
I think it could be enough. If you're going to go that route, I probably would recommend just a single pipeline. I've had quite a few customers that have just bought one pipeline for like a dead center.
Maybe if you're mounted off the swim plat.
Question, I think. So is there a typical size or style of boat that we should be looking at for this product, or is all things included?
Not particularly. It just depends on what the end customer is looking for. Like I had a customer call me the other day that's going to try to do a single skinny dip on a jet ski. So I'm curious to see how that goes, because this will be a first for us. But it just all depends. I think it kind of breaks it down into those goal-oriented things, right? Like if you're an ambiance person, I think these work great. If you're a person that we will say likes to do night activities, which we don't condone because it's not legal everywhere, but you'll want to move up to what's called the pipeline. The pipeline's our bread and butter. You can tell visually, like if you were to look on the boat, sometimes it's kind of hard to tell which model someone would have if you're looking at the boat. But if, for instance, on the side profile, this one's about half the distance, and the glasses kind of protrudes more at a cone shape, whereas the pipeline's about double the thickness. And the reason being is we get a lot more out of the pipeline. The pipeline, it actually you have 2 different connections. You have your RGB leads that go same as the skinny dip, go to the sync box and or controller / zone controller, because some of those boats come factory option with zone controllers now, or with an RGB source on board. And so these leads can actually tie in to that system, and then you have a power and ground that will have to go to the battery. This being is because we do up conversion inside the housing, so I'll pull 12 volt from the battery coming into the wires, coming to the harness, and then it'll up convert inside the housing itself to 32, 34 volt. Is that correct?
34 volts.
Oh, 34 volts. Sorry,
Yeah.
34 volts. With that up conversion, that's how we get a big push on, on that broadcast of that beam angle, that top triangle beam angle coming out of the boat, and that's kind of what's made our company the top when it comes to underwater lighting, is just that aggressive amount of light coming out. I can power it up for you as well. Another thing that I was going to, has the same internal component as this when it comes to connecting to a source, other than you have to have the power and ground, because if you try to do it from the controller's not going to put enough juice to be able to power the pipeline. So they have to have a separate harness going to the battery, and the battery for the negative and ground, or the positive negative. This one actually has 68 LEDs on board. Just for reference, the skinny dip only has 27. So it's quite a bit. And it jumps up to the 35 watts from the skinny dip to 80 watts. And with that 80 watts, you're running 8,000 lumens per housing. So quite a bit difference when it comes to, lay of the land of what you're trying to do in that low light scenario. With that, it pushes 7.2 amps. Is that correct?
I mean, it depends on your operate. If you're at 14 volts, it's probably right around 6 amps per light.
Okay. And this actually has a beam angle of a 60-degree beam angle. With that, gets that top triangle as it comes out of the boat. That V becomes a little bit tighter, but also more effective when pushing it out through the water.
I guess the difference between these two on the projection angle, this one produces less light overall. I think we said it's around 2,000 lumens.
2,000 lumens, yeah.
But it has a more focused beam, so your light flux through a given area is a little bit is close to the same, whereas this one projects a little wider, but there's a lot more light. So this one will give you a lot more spread, a wider illumination area.
Let me. Wrong ways. Not used to this box, so there we go.
So if we're talking about a river application, particularly the Ohio River, which is quite muddy, would you think the more focused beam would be a better solution on a river than, say, the wider beam?
I'd probably still go with pipeline. It's
Okay.
just has so much more intensity. I mean,
So you can see the flare just in
that's
just
just
in
got
camera.
so much more.
The flare
to
of it's quite a bit more
Yeah.
than what.
If you're in murky water, you want the higher output light.
Okay.
See, this blends more of a spotlight than the broadcast on my shirt of the skinny dip being more sporadic. But yeah, so this would be the pipeline. But this is kind of what started back in 2015. The vision of Liquid Lumens was this light right here. We've kind of gone with the generation 1 to generation 2 with this pipeline in mind. We have the different variations just because there's different customers out there, but this has always kind of been our bread and butter. Then what we also have is the Maverick, and the Maverick is I don't have a housing for that currently, but the Maverick itself is this same internal component right here, but with it's the same internal component, but instead of having one, it comes in a square housing with two of these same internal components inside that square housing. So those are sold as a single but a single at a higher price because of the dual lights in that housing. So the Mavericks are just a little bit more than a pair of pipelines by about $100. So they're right around like $2,600 for just a single housing. I think that's where a lot of people may get kind of confused, because they look at it like, oh, cool, and they think that it comes as a pair, just because a lot of our content videos do paired operations. I've had a lot of 12 volt installers like up the street that they've started moving from like maybe say a set of pipelines to a single Maverick, And then that same establishment is one of the ones that has done 4 Mavericks on one boat. When it comes down to brass tacks, if the Maverick in my mind is so let me kind of rewind a little bit. I apologize. So the pipeline for me, for that customer that's asking like end goal, the pipeline is I want to do certain activities later at night and actually be able to see the top of the wake coming out of the water. That would be the pipeline and the Maverick. The pipeline is still based on the spacing. It'll still be bright enough to the point where you'll be able to light up that tail fin, just fine. The Mavericks will actually amplify that quite a bit because you'd be doing a pair instead of a pair of these, you're doing 4 LEDs in 2 separate housings. So the Maverick in my mind is for
you want to throw up an image of that?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind. Colin's gonna throw up an image of some stuff. I have hopefully it works, but I have a couple of have an image of each individual light on 3 separate boats, so you can kind of get an idea of what we're looking at in the water, as well as I think a short video clip of it as well. And then what I was going to say is the Mavericks, with them being the same component as the pipeline, the Maverick, for a car audio shop or a dealer is the type of person that's I have my uncle's this way. He's hey, I have my brother, we have kind of similar boats, but I want to blow him out of the water. What can I do lighting wise to one up my family member? And that's pretty much what the Maverick is. The Maverick is I want the best of the best and I want the brightest of the brightest. I don't care what it takes to get. It would be this component. And then, sorry, it's a little small, but I don't know why we lost it. But
See if I can zoom in.
see if you can zoom in and bring it back up to us. There's always technical difficulties with.
Okay, yeah, they
computer,
should see it. They're just seeing this.
So you see that then. Okay, so that's the Maverick. But same internal components, same everything that the pipeline has to offer internally, just a different housing to focus more light in a single area.
And it has double. It has 2 pipelines.
Yes,
in
two pipelines in one is pretty much what we're looking at there. Do you have any questions so far as we continue?
Yeah, we do have another question. The question is, how is your product in salt water? And I'm not sure if they mean how does it perform in salt water or how does it hold up to salt water, but I would think both maybe.
That's a great question. So all these that we have here with our Generation 2, they're based off of a product called Cerakote. It's a ceramic-based coating that gets baked into the aluminum. It holds up really well in harsh conditions and bracket, and different types of water conditions that are, that's what's hard with the boating world is you have some people that live in fairly nice water that take their boat in and out of a trailer all the time, and then you have others that live in the worst of the worst and get to the grime and get to the bad stuff. But these lights I would say are best for freshwater. We do have and I know that some of you that have been talking with like Sam and Jared and whatnot, we do have a manganese bronze product in this pipeline, in this level product, and in the skinny dip as well. I don't think we're going to do it for the Maverick just based on weight because that manganese bronze gets really heavy, and having it based on one fixture adhered on one spot might cause a little bit of problem when installing. But I know for future we're going to have for the pipeline and for the skinny dip for that product. The manganese bronze will hold up in the brackish water, the salt water. That's going to be the bulletproof design. I don't have any specs on or pricing on that. I know we've kind of been working with a little bit OEMs with some of our other products, so that's kind of been pushed a little bit further behind than what we want it to be. But we're to the point where we're starting to kind of cut housings and get stuff situated for that. So it shouldn't be too much longer on having the manganese bronze product for the salt water. I don't know if any of you have been to our website, but we have a saltwater section, and that's why it's kind of not fulfilled at this moment. Is just because we we didn't want to put it on there and then have, people waiting a month or two for, for their orders. So we kind of put it on there as an entry so that people know that we're working on it. But I can be in contact with, with Davis on that when that becomes available in pricing, when I can receive that. But that's a great question. But yeah, as for what you see here in this Cerakote product, very stellar, very bulletproof in the non saltwater type of condition. I know
Ryan, when you do get that information, it would be valuable. We cover New Jersey, Virginia, Maryland, so we have quite a bit of saltwater applications out there. So that'd be great.
Yeah, and as soon as I get that, as soon as I get the go ahead to, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to unveil a new product that we only have maybe 20 sets on the shelf for, and kind of fall on our face when all 20 sell within 3 days. So I want to make sure that we're prepared for that and roll it out the way it should. So, but yeah, I will definitely keep you all informed on that aspect.
Awesome.
Any other questions before we kind of move into the other sector of maybe the above the water lighting? Or
Looks like that's it for now.
okay, so I'm going to kind of jump a little bit into the above the water. All three of those models that you saw are underwater products. They have to be underwater due to cooling. And they have to be below the water line just to be able to make sure that we don't have any issues there. Our Generation 2 does have some smart software in it. The way Colin designed these lights is that
I didn't design them.
well, helps design, I guess, is that we have some fail safes in it, and that if they come outside the water, say you trailer it out of the water, or you're driving down the road and you forgot that you had them on, it's happened before. They won't pop. They won't just pop and then be like, cool, I have to take off this whole light and buy a whole new set of lights. Colin, can maybe explain a little bit on that technology that we have on that light?
So, yeah, all the lights have thermal protection built in, so it will keep the housing within a safe temperature range, whether it's in the water or out of the water. On the pipeline, it has a processor on board that actually has its own firmware environment, and it's monitoring the temperature live, and it's also monitoring voltage drop. So inside the light, it can measure if you have a bad connection to the battery, if you have a faulty electrical connection that's causing too much voltage drop outside of 10%, it will issue a warning by blinking. It will blink the light 5 times every 10 seconds or something, and it reduces the power to a safe level so it doesn't have an unsafe condition because of too much voltage drop.
Okay. Moving into the above the water lighting, we've
got a question on life expectancy. Hey, let me
thanks, Colin.
look it up real quick. I need to look at one of the components. I'm honestly don't have that question in front of me, that answer in front of me.
I appreciate that. Sorry, I didn't realize until now that there was the questions off to the right hand side. So I thanks for.
What's our warranty period?
So our warranty is a 2-year warranty. Me personally, as a salesperson, we do sell them off our website, but to be honest, a lot of people go through networks like yourselves or local dealers. And I actually would prefer that as a salesperson. To me, I want to have a good experience for the customer. In the end, there's a lot of weekend warriors that can probably install these themselves. But in the end, it's beneficial for me to kind of push it towards those dealers or towards those distributors because of the knowledge base that you guys have. When it comes down to brass tacks, I've installed a set of skinny dips with my friend before in my driveway in like 102-degree weather, and stuff happens. The drill slipped and I broke one of the screws, and it became a 4, 5, 6 hour project. So in the end, the warranty is the 2 years that we offer to our customers. Preferably when it's bought through a distributor or dealer, those RMAs tend to get treated a little bit better because we have more information on when it was purchased, and be able to help the customer efficiently. But for right now, that is our warranty, is the 2-year warranty on the light. And to be honest with you, we don't see a whole lot come back. So when it does, it's kind of more of a question for myself on what to do next, because it's just more of a rarity that we do have any warranty issues. So, but I'm here as that first person that takes that call for any customers. If something is sold and they want to call directly to me, or or to the dealer, or to you guys, whichever path of least resistance for the customer, I'm willing to take. I take a lot, some of those calls, and I just want to, in the end, we want to make sure the customer gets taken care of it if it falls within that warranty time frame. There's been a time or two that it's fallen outside of that warranty time frame, and case by case, we've taken it as normally we'll do what we can to help the customer out. For instance, if it's bought through our website, normally I'll offer maybe just a small discount, to help in that aspect. Because normally, if we've seen something fail, it's been something with our generation 1, and it's been over 4 or 5 years old. So kind of more of a rarity. But as we grow bigger, things happen. But we're here to take care of the customer on that aspect. And as Colin's looking for that life expectancy, I kind of just want to jump into this triple top side, if you don't mind, unless anybody has any other questions, which I'm not seeing pop up on the right-hand side. So this is our triple top side. This is a fairly new design. This is something that can, it is waterproof, but it is recommended for above the swim deck. But what we like about it is it has these different angles of, I don't know if you can see, kind of looks almost like a podium, right? You have the forward facing, you have like kind of 45s off to the side. This has been a fun thing that you might have seen on our Instagram that we've been kind of messing around with. A lot of people we still sell them as a single unit, but with the 3 cobs. But you could do, a single in the center line of the boat, which a lot of people have been doing, that looks great. And the huge benefit of this as well is it can go fairly super bright. It can go pretty bright, but we do have a way of adjusting the brightness down as well, so that if there are people on the back end, you're not blinding them. This triple top side, same kind of scenario with the pipelines. It up converts internally inside the housing itself. So if there's a sync box or an RGB controller on board, nothing else is needed. It just has those same RGB leads as well as the power and ground, same like the pipeline and the Maverick do. It pulls about almost 45 watts per housing. There's 18 LEDs per cob. At 3 cobs, you're getting, what is that?
18 times 3.
54 total LEDs. The beam angle on this isn't as much of a pushing point, because it's not as valuable as opposed to the bigger lenses. But it can be installed in any RGB controller, the same as the pipe, same as all of our underwater lights. Did you have anything?
I found the life expectancy for the hardware themselves. The LED chips on there are rated up to 50,000 hours. I mean, that's assuming obviously that nothing else physically fails on the light, like if there's a water intrusion problem or an ESD failure, like if there's an electrostatic discharge that damages something. But if all the equipment isn't damaged from extenuating circumstances, you should have a very long lifespan.
Cool, thanks, Colin. Just so you can kind of get an idea, I mean, it's fairly bright. That's probably the highest brightness, but get an idea, it kind of, almost floods out like against my shirt. You can kind of see from a distance it has a little bit of a ring to it just because of the lens. But it is a very great option to be able to light up, the back of the swim deck, and potential, having fun outside past the swim deck. It's a great option. So these, same thing, they're sold individually. They're about $13.50 each light. A little bit more of engineering had to go into this light, a little bit more complicated than we originally thought. So it's a little bit higher than we expected, but it is a great light, and it does hold up really well for those type of environments of when you want to have fun off the back end of the boat. Let's see here, let's turn that off real quick. So then moving, kind of transitioning into that, we do have our new cup rings.
Kind of just accent lighting now.
Yeah, just more of the accent lighting. We have two different options. We have cup rings that can fit. So you take the the aluminum cup out, and for most boats, not all. I think there's some older Nautiques that may have a little bit shallower of an inner diameter. That
Do you know the diameter that our ring is on? You have that noted down?
I don't have it noted down. I think
Let me get that out first.
Colin's gonna grab some calipers just so we can measure it. But this new product has been pretty awesome. We had a generation 1 of this product. It was very similar to this, but it was quite a bit thicker plastic, thicker acrylic. And what we were doing before is just lining an LED strip kind of on the outer wall of the light. But we moved to this design because this is actually a full chip set. It's kind of hard to see, but where the glue is here, you'll see each individual chip set underneath here. And with that, we're able to push this down towards the bottom of the ring. And as it glows, it actually illuminates the whole ring instead of the, normally what we've had in the past of where it has kind of maybe a shadow spot here, a shadow spot there, as you see the individual LEDs going around the loop. Whereas this, it actually brightens from the bottom all the way up. So it's a luminous glow all the way around the ring. And let me plug it in so I can kind of show you.
Other one.
Yeah. So these are just RGB. So as you can see, it might be hard to see, but I mean the glow. Here, let me hit the light real quick, just so you can kind of get an idea. I know we got some light coming in here, but just so you can see, I mean it's pretty bright. I mean that's the illumination of this is, and this is what I've actually been really excited about with this new design, is because there aren't any dead spots. It glows the whole ring the way it should. And the way it should have been designed. So we're really happy with this new design. But as you can see, it's fairly bright. I mean, it'll light those cup holders up quite a bit on that aspect. For those run about they're $55 each ring. I'm not sure what the power consumption is on them. I don't know, Colin, if you're aware. It's very minimal on the power consumption, just because they are kind of an LED board. Colin can look into that as well. And then let's see. Yeah, okay, just make sure there are any other questions. And then another product that we have that is kind of a new generation 2 of a design is our deck lights. We've really enjoyed our deck lights. What's changed for the generation 2 is the light itself is quite a bit brighter. The chipset inside is quite a bit brighter. It's got a full waterproof seal. So the ones we had before were waterproof, but this design is a little bit better on the aspect of the waterproof. It's got a full encased right there on that bottom edge. It has it as a downward face angle. What I also like about these is these kind of broaden the spectrum. With this in the sink box, it kind of broadens the spectrum outside of the box of just a boat. For instance, with them being 12 volt, these have been selling really well because a lot of people have been putting them in other things other than their boat as well. For instance, side-by-sides. I got 2 of them in my side-by-side. I didn't have a chance to take a picture, but they illuminate very well. They come in 2 different colors. They come in like a black, if you will, and then a chrome with our Liquid Lumens logo kind of etched on there. But the two colors, but they also come in 2 different designs. So they have this post mount. The generation 1 had a post mount but didn't have a back nut. So if you had to drill a wire pass through hole, you wouldn't have any way of screwing it on. You'd have to just rely just on the silicone to hold it in. Whereas this component
it's just a through hole.
Actually has a back nut.
And then there's a back nut to pinch it against a panel. That's what the LED element looks like. It's got our logo.
And these deck lights run for $46 each. This other design that Colin's going to show you, this is our flush mount design. This is new. What's nice about this is the drill hole for this is very minimal.
Just for the
pass-through hole. Whereas the other one was a post. It was I think a 3/4 inch hole, whereas
Okay.
this is
2 little mounting screws and then a wire hole. And I think you could also use a tape, like a sticky back, to mount that up if you wanted.
And what we've been seeing is even just a daub of silicone on that back end for that plate, as it sets with some blue tape holding it, against the plastic, the fiberglass, whatever it is. It'll make that adhere really well. And then the screws that it comes with, they're more of a vanity type screw. I mean, they're just kind of a set screw. They're nothing special. So I would definitely rely more so on the adhesive of installing these as the screw. The screw is more so just for the finishing look. But one thing I do like about this version is you have that minimal amount of drill space through the whatever you're drilling through. Yeah, and as for the deck lights and the couple rings, yes, they do have the same warranty, the 2-year warranty as the underwater lights and the above water light as well. So it's pretty much a 2-year across the board. Another reason why I also like to have a dealer or yourself sell it is because we can also track it, because a lot of people that may buy online or may get it from a friend or whatever, it's hard to track that warranty, and so it's just a lot smoother transition if I'm able to look up an order that you guys place and match an RMA to that order, as opposed to having a customer wait longer for me to try to figure out where their order came from 2 years ago. So on that aspect, yeah, they do have the same. So $46 for the deck lights, $55 each for the cup rings. But definitely a lot can go with these deck lights. And I just realized I didn't. Oh, you powered it on. So I'm gonna have to hit the light for you. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over the place, but just so you can get an idea. I mean, they're not gonna blow you out of the water, but they're bright enough for that downward facing angle for a gallery option, as walking through the gallery of the boat. For instance, on the side by side that I was telling you about, I have them underneath my seat to kind of light up my where my feet go and whatnot. So as well as like maybe a wheel well. So they hold very well, and because they are waterproof, it's a nice aspect for different type of installations with those deck lights as well. Just to kind of give you that idea there. Trying to think if there's anything else. Last thing I want to cover before I kind of go to any more questions you might have is the sync box. The sync box is pretty awesome. We've had the sync box since kind of the beginning. The sync box was initially made as an additional hardware to our Generation 1 product. Our Generation 1 product, I don't have one here with me, but our Generation 1 product had a box similar to this, but it was about double the size. Had a kind of a PC fan up at the top, and that box was the only thing that box was made for, was for the up conversion, to take 12 volts and up convert. Moving to Generation 2, as you can see, not having those bigger additional driver boxes for the pair of lights has been pretty awesome. We do still utilize this sync box, and the reason being, like what I discussed before, is for the adding an RGB source. So if there's no, if on the vessel there's no RGB components, if the customer's like, oh, I have RGB lights on my boat, that's great, because we can tie out whatever that controller is for those components. The skinny dip, though, since it doesn't rely on the power and ground, whatever RGB source they have, we just have to keep in mind that it's not maxing out the controller, whatever that controller is, aftermarket, OEM, because that 35 watts per housing on the skinny dips may tax out that RGB controller. But all the other ones, the triple top side, the Pipeline, and the Maverick, they are all pulled power from the battery. So the leads that go in the RGB leads are very minimal. So you don't have to worry about taxing too much power and creating issues with the RGB component with those, because all the power comes from the Pipeline or the Maverick. So this not only adds the RGB source if there isn't one, but we also have on our remote two buttons that can control an audio function, which is very popular in the 12-volt world. being able to strobe to the bass of the music has been kind of a popular thing over the past few years, and seems to tend to be as we move forward. So that adds it as well. So if you have a customer that has an OEM setup that can integrate, but still like, oh, well, I'd really like to have that audio function, then they would have to move over to the sync box. The sync box, however, does have, with the power coming in on this back end here, you can run your dashboard switch to here to turn on and off the unit. So for instance, on the older Malibus, I know a lot of them had just a power going to the back end because their underwater lights were either white or blue, just a solid color. So you can tie into that dashboard switch. So I get a lot of questions on, can it integrate? Yes and no. It can integrate on the aspect of you can use the dashboard, the OEM dash, or the computer to turn on the sync box. The thing is, whatever is left on the last time that you turn off the component will be that color that it comes back to. So for instance, a lot of customers like blue. And so if you're running like an aspect of like, I wanted to be able to turn on my boat, turn on my underwaters, and always have blue, it's perfect, because the only time you ever have to change anything is you still turn on and off the dashboard. You can, but you still have to utilize the remote to change the colors or to turn on and off the audio function. This is probably the next thing that we would look into, maybe upgrading, because we've had this box for a little bit, but it's done really well. I think that's why we continue to have it, is because it doesn't fault, it doesn't have problems. A lot of the 12-volt shops around this area actually buy these not for the boats, but for to be able to control other RGB lighting. So we sell quite a bit of these, just not even in the boating world either. So as well. So one other thing I was going to kind of express to you, it has a connector here that's called a sync cable. And I know that some of you may have this question. A lot of customers like, oh, I got my sync box with my G2 lights, but I didn't get a sync cable. And the sync cable we left on there because the sync cable can be utilized for the Generation 1 product. And we still have some customers out there that may, if their box goes bad, or, say we have a Generation 1 product out there that never got sold, at a dealer, but then just got sold, and they want to sync this up. What the sync cable is utilized for is to make this the master and create the Generation 1 box for the slave. So as you turn on the lights and change the colors, it's in unison. So what would happen is if you didn't have the sync cable connected to the two driver boxes, it would end up causing it so one would turn on and change color, and then it would be a second delay, and then the other ones would. This would make it so it would sync all together, so there wouldn't be that issue. But we kept it on there just in case customers had older products that still need to utilize this. But if you order anything recent, it won't come with a cable, but just know for your customer base, if they're like, hey, I didn't get a sync cable, unless they have a Generation 1 product, that's the only time the sync cable would be needed. How many skinny dips can the sync box run?
It's about 2.5 amps per skinny dip, and the sync box can do about 16 amps. So let's see, that's probably about 6. I'd say safely you could run about 6 off of that one box.
We'll kind of leave it open to you if you guys have any other questions. Those of you that have mics, or those of you that are typing in, just want to see if you have any questions for myself or Colin on that aspect, on what we haven't covered, or if there's any feedback on what we have covered, on anything else that could be maybe explained a little bit better. Kind of leave that open here for the next few minutes and just see if there's anything else we can answer for you.
That last question about the skinny dips, how many you can run off of one controller. That's actually an interesting point to bring up, because the pipeline, it grabs its power directly off the battery, and you're actually not putting a measurable load on the RGB system. So that's one big benefit of the high output pipeline, is there's really virtually no load. You can load up a whole bunch on one port, and all the power comes from its 2 power wires, not through the 4 RGB lines.
One other thing I was going to mention that I forgot to mention about the sync box, the remote. Unfortunately, it has to have the remote for it to function. So if the remote gets wet, if it gets lost, we sell replacement remotes. I think they're $30. A question I get all the time is like, oh, if I get a remote, do I have to do any sync procedure? You don't have to do any sync procedure if you get another remote. So
Universal.
They're universal across the frequency that we've always utilized for this box. So if you have a customer that wants to order a couple extra remotes with that order, just so that they have backups, because the button batteries tend to go bad fairly quickly. So just wanted to let you know that there's an easy process for that as well. So if there's any other questions, I'll kind of turn it back to Robert, unless there's anything else that you would like us to cover, and kind of go from there.
No, I think you guys have covered it really well. I think some of the products that we haven't keyed in on that might help us gain some traction is the above water lights and the accessories. So we'll do a better job of putting some marketing stuff out there on those and trying to grab some attention. The other ones, they're sticker shock. I'm sure you hear that everywhere. But just seeing them, and we got to use the assets from the website too, because when you actually see how much water these things light up, it's kind of amazing. So yeah, I think that it's on us, right? So
I had one other question pop up about this strip lighting. We did used to offer during our Generation 1 phase. We did used to offer a strip light that we called the triple tops, or not triple. We call it the top side light. This was the kind of the changeover to that top side light, and that's why we call it the triple top side light. But we did have a top side light that was encased in like a marine grade rubber channel, and then was controlled by the sync box here. People seem to really love it, but as the longevity of the UV inhibitors in those rubber, it over time it just doesn't last, and we didn't want to continue to sell that type of product if we knew that it was going to look visually rough over 3 or 4 seasons. It's going to start looking pretty gloom. So we decided to kind of back off on that product, even though it was very popular. We just didn't want to continuing to sell it if it was going to be something that we didn't feel like had the longevity that it deserved. Whereas this has the longevity that will be worth that investment, if that makes sense. So yeah, and answer that question, we don't offer that anymore. It's something we did, but that's kind of the deck lights and the triple top sides kind of has taken over that kind of focus, if you will. Do you have anything else?
Talking about the in channel, like the channel that would run along the edge of the boat and stuff. Is that what you're talking about when you said the rubber coating on it? Because like on the side, like a Bennington boat or something, I'm just using that as an example. On a pontoon Bennington boat, how they have you could run like lighting around the edge of the boat, and it's in a strip that way. It's rubber coated and everything. Is that what you're talking about?
What it was we had them in 3-foot sections, and we had like 3-foot sections, and
right. Yep.
All it was one of our LED strips, but it was encased and kind of glued in to like this rubber housing and track, and just over time, 2 or 3 seasons in, we had minimal amount actually come out of that rubber track. What it would do is just the sun with the UV would just bake that. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if we use silicone or what we utilize, but it would just bake that coverage over the LED, and it would just make the LED not as bright because it
right.
looked like it was stained yellow.
It would be a yellowish tint to it. Yep. Okay.
And so I think Colin's sharing the screen.
This is what it looks like if you're curious.
So that's what it looked like initially, and it was a very popular product. I mean, we didn't have it available for super long, but the time it did, it sold quite a bit.
Strips that we put on the backside. and it kind of just lights up above the water line for surfing. But yeah, that's discontinued. So
Yeah, and that's been the only product that we've really discontinued. The rest have been more of an upgrade, whereas that's been more of a discontinued option, just because we just didn't feel comfortable. Even though it's still function, like, we still have customers that still have on their boat today, but some that keep their boat out all year long, they still work, but they're just not the quality that we felt like it deserved. So we didn't want to continue that process if we didn't feel like it was
Cool.
quality over time. So
Yeah, thank you.
yeah,
as far as the earlier comment about sticker shock, I guess you'd be surprised. I mean, just run it past people, even if you feel don't be shy. I'd just say, hey, would you be interested in some lights? And you'd be surprised what people are willing to spend.
To be honest with you, with what Colin's saying, one of our top dealers here in Utah is actually our 12 volt dealers just up the street. He does a great job, because when it comes down to brass tacks, it's like he has a customer that comes in and is like, I want to put $5,000-$6,000 into my J audio system on my boat, and as part of that, like running wires, and as they're working on it, it's like, hey, would you, what do you think about these underwater lights? I can get these put on for you today as well. And 9 times out of 10, it's like, yeah, let's just do it. There's no thought in it. It's just like, I want the best, give me the best. And you'd be surprised. That's what's so great about the boating industry, and even the power sports industry, right? People use this opportunity to invest in not only some with their families, some with their own personal time. It's an investment at the end of the day, right? The power sports business, the motorsports business, and then the boating business, it's an investment. People don't spend the money to have their stuff just want to sit in the garage and have nobody see it, right? People want to spend time with their family. People want to get out and have fun and enjoy their investment. So majority of time than none, just simple asking. I've always been super surprised in this industry on how little people say, oh, no, never mind. More than none, people are like, yeah, let's do it. And if it adds, for instance, we have boats that sell here all the time in Salt Lake City, and as part of the header for that boat trader ad is Liquid Lumens lights is at the top of that list. And so that gives us some pride knowing that we're doing something right on our aspect of having customers that's like, it's showing value to that boat, and they're going to be spending more money on that boat because of our products. So that's something that we take great pride in, and we're happy to have happy customers. So
just in response to that earlier question about more pictures, you can just hop on our website, and it's got images of all of our underwater lights.
What I'd also recommend, and because we don't have like it linked to our liquidlumens.com website, but we have Tanner, who's our content creator, that does a great job. He's well known in the content world for the work that he does. A lot of the stuff that we get referrals from, sales from, a lot of it is people that see the content of the broadcast of our lighting underwater, either in person through a friend and be like, hey, my friend has these, I need to get these, or with our Instagram, Liquid Lumens Instagram account. We have videos all the time. We have a lot of, for instance, with that 12 volt shop, they share a lot of the stuff with it. When they do crazy installs like those, we had one out in Texas that's a 12 volt dealer of ours that did the 8 or 10 pipelines on the back of, I think it was a Supra. That post alone brought in a whole wave of people. So what's that?
I'm just pulling up our Instagram.
Yeah, Colin's gonna pull it up just so that you can see it. But if there's any questions to your customers on specs and whatnot, me or Colin are always available to answer those questions if it's something that the team can't answer, or for visual aspect, if they haven't heard of us before, once they see they see the content on our Instagram page, they'll know who we are. Did you ever pull up those 2 videos that I sent you in Teams?
Man, there's a little bit of assembly work, but
One last thing I was going to show
send me
you
some videos on Teams.
that I sent 2 pictures from Colin, specifically from our Instagram page. I just want to show you kind of in closing, because these are great kind of aerial videos that show
Here's the difference.
the difference. Yeah. So I don't know if you can see it on your screen. Please let me know if you can't. But you'll have 3 separate boats. You'll have one facing at like a bottom angle, and then 2 at the top facing upward. In that picture, you'll have a good view of what each model does. So the top left boat is our skinny dips. As you can see the beam angles coming out of that boat. That's the entry level model for the skinny dips. And
There's
then
2 of them.
yeah, these are all paired lights. Moving over to the right side, that is our bread and butter. That is our pipeline. So that's 8 times out of 10. That's what people order, is a set of those. And then to the bottom is the 4 LEDs with 2 Mavericks. So 2 housings, 4 LEDs. You can see from that drone footage just the amplification in that water
Just incredible
that pushes, and that's where our product differs. I mean, yes, the price point can be kind of take you back, but for the quality that we put into our product and for the brightness, it can't be beat.
You had another link.
And then I had one more that's kind of a video that'll show this as well. Let me see if I can bring that in. Let's see. Sorry, one
Is
second.
this what you were looking for?
No, it's that second link I sent you.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So here's just a quick video. I think it's on a loop, but this also shows them flashing kind of in action. It's fairly short. Sorry, it's kind of short, but yeah.
I guess this has the 3 models.
So that has the 3 models. So this is a good kind of product page to just kind of see the 3 differences. But as you can see them flashing, you can see that's not even at a dark time. That's probably more towards sundown, right before, but it's still fairly bright out, fairly light outside, and you can see with that aerial shot with the drone what kind of potential our lights have.
This one here is skinny dip, I'm assuming,
Yeah.
on the left.
And the middle one's the
That one
Mavericks.
must be Mavericks. It definitely has the most light, and then that's a pair pipeline.
Correct. In closing, is there anything else that you guys would like from us, or need anything else you need from us, or anything else we can share with you?
No, I think you guys covered it well. Is there anything that as far as these videos that you could share with us on like an email or something?
Yeah, I can draft something up, and I can actually get what I'll do is I have Tanner's created kind of like some folders of our products that we can share with dealers. I'll make sure I get that out to you and your team, Robert.
Awesome. That would be great.
Perfect. Well, if there's nothing else, I appreciate you guys' willingness to spend some time. I'm sorry, I know I was hoping it would only take a half hour. I know it took an hour, but hopefully we got some good information across. And if you need anything at all, Ryan Roberts and Colin Curtis, you can reach us out either by through the phone or through email. We're always here to answer questions that we can help out with.
Awesome. Thank you very much for all your help.
Okay, I appreciate your time. Thanks, you guys. Nice meeting you.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys. Thanks.
Okay, you. Bye-bye.